Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thanks for taking some time out of your day to join us and to learn about preparing for the ECBA exam. It's new, you might have heard, and we couldn't think of anybody better than Ellen Mishra to come and share with you tips and secrets, things you will want to know as you are getting ready. My name is Susan Moore. I'm the Community Engagement Manager. Again, thank you all for taking some time out of the day. A couple of housekeeping things. We are recording today's session. We will send out a link to the recording and the slide deck. You'll get that about 24 hours after today, and then we'll follow up with an email that includes some additional resources as you are thinking about getting ready to take this exam. You guys have already found the chat. That's fantastic. Keep chatting. We are going to save some time for questions. If you will put that into the Q&A box, it just makes it a little easier for us to find it. We really appreciate it. And you guys have already found the reactions, so that is great. Ellen can see those, and sometimes that helps him to know what you're thinking while you are a big invisible audience. So let's see. Let me introduce Ellen. So Ellen is one of our IIBA training partners. He does a variety. His company is Adaptive US. They do a variety of different kinds of trainings and certification preparations. As I mentioned, he holds all 7 certifications. There are very few people in our community that do that. So congratulations. He's a trainer, author, co-founder, and COO of Adaptive US. Ellen, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Susan. And let me wish many of you. I think I may not have got an opportunity to speak to you in the new year. So, belated Happy New Year. We are almost going to end January, but still, it's a good time to wish you New Year. Second thing, before I start my presentation, I would like to kind of tell about our association with the ECBA certification in particular. Two things. One, I of course started teaching the BABAP courses much before ECBA got introduced. In those days, we had 2 programs, CCBA and CBAP, and we used to get requests from many professionals who are not business analysts and would like to become business analysts, or some of them were very young business analysts, like 1 year, 2 years experience. And we had a cutoff saying, if you want to go for CCBA, at least you should have 2.5 years experience as a BA. If you want to go for CBAP, you need to have 5 years experience. So we were in a catch-22 situation. That means you don't have certificate, so it becomes harder for you to find a job because people don't trust that you have really read and understood the subject. And you can't take the IIBA certification because it requires you to have 2.5 years of BA experience. So that way, it was a great move by IIBA, and they introduced this product called ECBA, which did not require any certification or any BA experience before you can go for ECBA. So that opened up an opportunity for many, many people. And to my knowledge, I've been associated with IIBA activities for about 15 years plus now. I think this is the best performing standard among all IIBA standards. For those of you who track the certification numbers, it is one of the best performing one. Second reason why I remember ECBA so well is when we were trying to establish ourselves in the training market. Obviously, there were companies which are much older than us. I don't want to name them, but they have been there in the training industry for 30 years, 50 years sometime. And it's very difficult for a young institute to establish itself. So when ECBA came, we in fact became the first training institute in the world to offer ECBA courses. So for some time, for about 6 months to 1 year, we were probably the only institute to offer ECBA certification training. And since nobody else was offering, students or learners had no choice but to come to us. So that kind of helped us to get some little recognition in the market. I'm very glad we maintained the tempo. And so far, we have got about 800 plus ECBA certifications in last 9 years or so. So that's almost like 100 ECBA certifications per year, which is definitely a worthwhile achievement for a small institute like ours. Coming back, I am a practicing BA for close to 30 years. So I've been there much before Babok was born. And people started talking about a role called business analyst. Um, so, so you can trust me. I have been through all IIBA certifications, completed them in my first attempts. And as I told you, I have been a guide and mentor to so many business analysts around the world. 800 of them are in ECBA category, about 1,000 are in CBAP category, and the remaining 400, 500 would be other certifications like CCBA, CBDA, CPOA, those certifications. So our aim today is to kind of help you, provide you certain tips and guidance on how do you prepare well for the ECBA exam. Sometimes you may question me and ask me, because I'm coming from a training institute, is it necessary for you to get trained formally? No. Okay. It is not mandatory on your part to take any professional training to be ready for ECBA, but a professional training will always help. So that's a decision that you make, whether you would like to do it yourself. It might take you a little longer, a little bit more hard work on your side, or you would like to take some expert help, which will make the process much easier for you. Again, let me thank all of you for taking some time out from your daily busy schedule. And I have very simple theory to myself: people who learn, they lead. So if you are a learner and if you are a continual learner, you are going to be a leader in the community. And I'm very glad many of our past learners have done exceedingly well. And some of them are leading the country activities in their country, like Belarus and so many other countries. When I hear these people's names, I do recognize them as our past learners. And always trust me, no, there is no way an unbranded product will command a premium over a branded product. So when you go through the ECBA training and certification, you are increasing your knowledge level, you're increasing your skill, and you're also getting branded. And all these three things will definitely help you to grow faster in your business analyst career. Or if you're trying to switch from a non-BA role to a BA role, it will also help. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our experience with so many ECBA learners and what is it that we have seen over the last 1 year. Because over last 1 year or so, the ECBA certification has indeed undergone a bit of a change, which is important for us to recognize. So I think Susan told about me, so I'm just going to skip it. Although I said 27 plus years, I think the first time I did a BA role was in 1996. So that's exactly 30 years from today. I don't recognize the month, but maybe the month was about June, July. So another 6 months, I will complete 30 years as a business analyst. So if we just take a very simple question for all of us, no? You're in a shopping complex or a mall or a store and you're trying to buy a smartphone. There are two products available to you: $900, branded one, and $800, an unbranded one. What would you folks buy? Maybe you can put in your Q&A or chat window. Let me see what's your choice for the product. Okay, I see branded, branded. Somebody says 800, branded, unbranded. Okay. Some of you may still go for a price competitive product. But remember, a branded product comes with a lot of assurance. If there is a problem with the product, you can go back to the manufacturer. You can trust that the company does take care to make sure that the quality of the product is good. Similarly, when a company is hiring business analysts, for them, they would also like to hire a branded business analyst. Because that way they can ascertain that you folks understand business analysis well, you have been independently validated. You yourself don't claim that I'm a great BA. No, I can always claim anything I like personally. But is there an independent body verifying your skills and knowledge? That's what happens with any of these certification programs, especially with IIBA certifications. Because trust me, we get all kinds of requests. Can somebody take the exam? Can I get a question dumped for ECBA? Nowhere you will find such thing. That way, IIBA has done a fantastic job in protecting the integrity of the exam. which is so very important. No, if we lose integrity of the certification, we lose all the credibility that we have in the market. If unbranded with warranty, of course, somebody, but usually unbranded products will not give you warranty. So obviously, most people would look for a branded product. As I said, better quality. Maybe it comes with a warranty. It comes with some post-sale support and a lot more assurance. Similarly, for a company trying to hire you or a company trying to move you into a BA role, like you are doing something else, like you're a tester or you're a developer, if they see that you have undergone this training, they would like to promote you for that role because that shows your intent as well. No, say, how do I show my intent to be a business analyst? And getting certified is a very simple and rewarding way to get your intent very clear. Trust me, even if you have some experience, and I have seen a lot of BAs in my professional life, you will still learn a lot of things, even if you have worked for 10 years. So I'm assuming most of you are not in that category because this focus is on ECBA. But even when I'm talking to CBAP uh, aspirants, they have a lot of experience naturally, but they also learn a lot of new things when they go through this particular training. Okay. So the training has a tremendous value. The certification increases the value of training as well. Okay. So again, one simple question. Although we are human beings, are we products as well? Or we are not products? So Isabel says yes. Sardul says yes. Okay. Indeed, we are products. No, that's why we have a term called job market. So we are all in the marketplace where we want to showcase our talent, showcase our skills, and obviously get picked up for the best jobs available in the market. No, everybody wants to earn more. I wouldn't find anybody who is saying, I want my salaries to come down next year. Okay, so this is something that we have observed, and there has been many studies by IIBA as well. IIBA does conduct an annual salary survey, which is available for members. I think there is a non-member version as well, but that's much more succinct. Like it doesn't have much of data. But if you're an IIBA member, I believe many of you are. If not, this is one sincere request from my side, and I think from Susan's side as well. It pays well to become an IIBA member. There are many benefits. You get access to fantastic content from IIBA. You get Baba Guide for free. You get many other guidebooks for free. You have a digital library which you can access. You also get discounts on your exam vouchers as well. So there are many benefits of becoming a member. It doesn't cost you much. So I would strongly recommend if you are not a member at this time, please become a member of IIBA. That way, you can contribute to the community, you can grow the community as well. Because I remember, say, about 20 years back, nobody talked about a role called business analyst. Now, business analyst as a role has become very popular. Companies across the world recognize the value of BAs, and BAs are being looked for. They're being asked to do a lot of large changes in organizations. BAs are being made responsible for those activities. So obviously, this is some data we took from IIBA survey. It says trained and certified BAs on average earn 19% more. That's a good salary hike that you can expect. Many of our learners, including even if they're not our learners, they learned on their own or they took training from somewhere else. Most of them do see a faster career growth once they get certified. So same thing I'm expecting for you as well. Another thing you'll also feel is because you have been formally trained and certified, you will feel a lot more confident about what you say, what you do at workplace as well. Now, people cannot just simply uh, uh, put your ideas and thoughts aside. So that way you get a lot more visibility at workplace as well. And if you do your work well, you'll also feel good about yourself, no? Because whatever task is being asked to me, I'm able to perform well. In fact, with the new ECBA, this is becoming even better. Why? Because the old ECBA format, which we ran for quite some time, it was very theoretical. So it asked you questions which were direct and not so much application oriented. Whereas the new ECBA is making you more application thinking way as well. So you'll actually encounter a lot of scenarios. In that scenario, what you should do, what you should not do. In fact, the link which Susan shared just before we started the webinar, if you look at it, they're very nice way to indicate how to use or leverage a particular technique. So that's done very well. Of course, it would require some reviews and iteration and kind of improvement, but it has come up quite well. And I should give a lot of credit to IIBA product team for coming up with such a nice product. Okay, so obviously there has been a lot of thought around having a core standard for all kinds of BA certifications. Like all of you may be aware that we have one set of certifications which are called ECBA, CCBA, CBA, and that's primarily around business requirements analysis. That's the primary focus, mostly focusing on the software requirements world. But there are also other certifications from IIBA. Some of you may be aware IIBA has a certification on data analytics, what we call CBDA. It has a certification on product ownership, what we call CPOA. There is a certification on cybersecurity. There is also a certificate on agile analysis. But within all these certification schemes and guides, there should be a core. No. And IIBA always wanted to have a core certification which people should go through and then expand their skills in specialized areas. So you want to become a good requirements analysis leader, maybe looking at CCBA, CBAP will make sense. Your company uses products approach, then look at CPOA. That's how the whole scheme was thought of. So I am believing that at some point in time, maybe ECBA will become kind of a mandatory requirement to do any advanced certification. That's, I think, a good approach as well from my point of view, that everybody clears the foundations, then goes for specialized certification. Not at this point in time, that's my thought. And obviously, the new ECBA is very much centered on practical application of business analysis, unlike theoretical emphasis which was there earlier. So obviously, the nature of questions that will change because uh, the application is a slightly different way of asking questions compared to normal questions. And the intent behind this also is to make sure that when you go to your workplace, you are able to contribute more effectively. So the industry appreciates anybody who is coming with ECBA certification. And we are believing that with this kind of improved content, you will also be able to provide better outcome. Just to tell you, IIBA also thought of a standard, BA standard, which will serve as the core of all guidebooks. So that's what we call it as business analysis standard. And that has been included now in the ECBA curriculum, which was not the case earlier. Earlier, we had Babok as the primary reference, but now both Babok and the BA standard have been kind of used in the certification. And the BA standard has quite a nice concept. I think some of you might have read it. It's free to download. So even if you're not a member, you still can get access to the BA standard. Look through it. There are many concepts like BA principles, BA mindset, which is quite nice to at least talk about. No? So in the BA BOK, if you see, we focused quite a lot on process. No, how to do it, how to do it. That was how we kind of taught Babok as well. But now it's more about learning how to become a good business analyst, what kind of skills you should develop beyond having the process skill. And obviously, we are expecting that with the new certification program, all of you, once you get ECBA trained and certified, will be able to contribute a lot more to your organization. So this is what has happened. There is a lot greater emphasis on real world situations. So that will give you, and in fact, the demonstration that Susan said with you, you'll actually see those things like this is a real life situation. This is what you're facing. What's your decision in that case? And we also have improved the focus on something called BA core concept model, which was the foundation for writing Babok as well. So just for your reference, what does BACCM stand for? It stands for something called Business Analysis Core Concept Model. Okay. And in that, there are 6 aspects that is there. Something like context, change, stakeholders, value, benefit. Those six aspects are there. And every time we do anything as a business analyst, we have to think about all those six aspects. Like, what's my context? What kind of existing processes are there? What are the challenges in existing processes? What kind of existing solutions we have? No, who are the stakeholders with whom I would interact for my work? Okay. What benefit will the organization get because of this particular activity? So those kind of high emphasis on BSCM is very valuable because when you execute your business analysis work, you are always keeping those things. Like, say, for example, is documentation for the sake of documentation good? No, because it is not adding value to business. So you always have to think any activity we perform as business analysts must be adding value to our business. Then we also have expanded the time limit for the exam because earlier it was 60 minutes, 50 questions. But now, since the questions have become a little deeper, more involved, obviously you get a little more time to complete the test as well. So you get 75 minutes to complete the test. So essentially, this is called the blueprint. Okay. So obviously, there are various elements in the blueprint that you have to go through. So a good part goes about understanding business analysis. Like, what is business analysis? What are the principles that as a BA you should follow? Right. Say one of the principles could be, just what comes to my mind, is to focus on outcome, not out. So many of you might have heard these terms, output and outcome. What matters is outcome, what we change or make a benefit for the organization, not what we produce. For a very long time, BAs got a very bad name that we are documenters, we write down whatever our stakeholders say. You should write down what your stakeholders say, but not just write down what your stakeholders say. No, in that case, you are not adding significant value. How are you adding significant value? By having a greater understanding of business, a greater understanding of domain, no, asking questions which stakeholders may forget, but they may not tell you. Those are skills we need to develop. Then there is also something called a mindset for BAs, where you think about critical thinking, adaptability, communication. These also have come into picture in the new certification, which I truly like. And in fact, for me, if I am going to be an examiner for a senior business analyst, I would look for these skills a lot more. So technical skills is one part, but your behavioral skills will be a lot more important as a senior BA. And you are getting a good foundation even when you are starting at the ECBA level. Then how do you contribute to PA, to different project life cycles? Then these are the six elements that we talked about in BSCCM. Change, like what kind of change should be done, how we can manage change effectively, identifying appropriate business needs and opportunities. No? One request to all of you, for a very long time, we have been looking more at the business problems and trying to solve business problems, largely through software products and projects. Whereas now I would say a time has come when we also should look at opportunities that is coming our way, especially from the organization point of view. And there are tremendous opportunities which businesses will see, especially with the advancement of technology, AI, generative AI. Businesses will have opportunity to serve their customers a lot better, expand their markets all around the world. All those are possible today for organizations. So BA should kind of play a forefront role in making sure that these opportunities are exploited. We always work with solutions, mostly software solutions, but also remember, solutions need not be only software. It can be process change, it can be skill development. Those solutions are also feasible options. We work with our stakeholders. We always try to get value, which is benefit minus cost. And we always keep the context in mind, because context affects everything that we do in our business analysis role. I do get a lot of questions on the chat, but I'll probably take them up at an appropriate time. It's probably not the right time for me to look through the chats, but I'll try to give you as many answers as I can. Okay, so now coming back a little bit to the comparison between 2025 and 2026. This was actually mid 2025 when things started changing. So earlier we had only one guide, which is Babok. Now you have both the guides, no, Babok plus BA standard. But again, remember, not everything in Babok standard comes in your exam, or Babok guide, I should rather say. There are a lot of techniques which have been removed for ECBA. Like earlier, we used to ask 50 techniques for every examination, including ECBA. Now the focus is only on 20 foundational techniques. But earlier we had four knowledge areas coming from Babak. Now you have the entire knowledge area set coming to you. One way that is good that you understand the entire length and breadth of business analysis. You are not left out for a couple of business analysis knowledge areas, which was the case earlier. So now you know even about strategy analysis and solution evaluation, which was not there earlier. Number of questions remain same. The exam duration had changed, as I said, from 60 minutes to 75 minutes. The question times have changed reasonably. The fees have remained same. So that's the good news. There is no extra fee that has come in because of a change in the exam scheme. I think there's some small $6 change if I understand well, but not a huge change. And but the new scheme also comes with a practice exam for you from IIBA itself, which was not the case before. So now you get one practice exam before you go for the final exam, which is quite helpful. So a couple of things on our side, we have something called free ECBA 50 questions. So you can go to our website, you can download that. And there is also some other content that we provide you for free. So you can always download that from our website as well. Good. So how about getting this whole process done? In fact, the most important step many people miss is to make up your mind. No, that's the stumbling block. Because if you make up your mind, you can achieve it. So that's how I made and I achieved all seven IIBA certifications because I made up my mind that I need to learn all these topics. One, it is helpful for me as a trainer because I can teach these subjects to other BAs. So that's how I made all these certifications quite early, and that's how I could complete all seven before anybody else could complete all seven. So let's take a quick look at all these six steps. Again and again, this is the most important step. If you make up your mind, you will get it done. Okay, so it's your intent which matters more than anything else. As I said, you can study on your own. There are plenty of resources available from IIBA, from any other training provider, including us. So the content is not a problem. Your commitment is the key factor. But again, remember, get it done as soon as you can, because when you get certified, your salaries also go up. You also feel a lot better at work. You will not get those benefits till you are not certified. And also, see, today's world is very volatile. And if you're not investing into your own skilling and branding, two things, look at skilling opportunity, look at branding opportunity. Those two, not having them will definitely impact you in bad times. And the times are not very good. Then, as I said before, and it doesn't require you to go through a faculty-led training, although a faculty-led training will make it much easier for you to understand. No? So when I study something on my own, it obviously troubles me because I may not understand everything. There is no guide, no support, no mentor to help me. So in general, what we have seen is when you do it yourself, it may take you another 6 months to 12 months longer. That's what we have seen with many of our learners versus people who decide to do on their own. So you're basically losing 6 months of advantage or 12 months of advantage by trying to do it yourself. And it's also sometimes a little bit more difficult to be self-disciplined. No? When you have a trainer or a mentor, the person makes sure that you study. So you're going and meeting the trainer or mentor every week. The trainer is asking you what you have done last week, what have you done this week. So that way your progress becomes a lot more visible. Okay, you do have a choice of lots of training providers in the world. There are probably 200 plus. But when you are choosing a training partner, please make sure that you look at their past success rate, the kind of faculty that they engage, the kind of content they provide you. Do they provide you something called success guarantee? How frequently do they run these courses? And what kind of support you can expect post your primary training. So these are things that you should consider. And remember, you may be paying some money to an institute, but that is not the largest cost that you'll incur. The largest cost will probably be your time. And second thing is, if things don't go your way, you again feel a little bit demotivated, because failing in any exam is not necessarily a very pleasant thing. Okay, then we look at how do you prepare smart. So this is something very important. Okay, so obviously a lot of times people are not very clear about the scope of the exam. This is important for you to remember. ECBA does not cover entire BABOK. That is something you should remember. There are two key aspects in BABOK which are not there in the exam. One is a chapter called Perspectives. That's an 80-page chapter. Second, out of 50 techniques, only 20 are included, 30 are not included. So put together these two, you're probably avoiding about 100, 110 pages of content, which you don't have to study for the exam. Then also make sure that you are preparing with right kind of questions, because as I was telling you, question pattern are changed significantly from 2025. So if you're practicing with last year's question papers, that's not going to help you that much, because the question paper pattern itself has changed. And obviously, many of you might have taken a look at Babok Guide and must have seen how many words are there in Babok Guide. It's a large guide, and it does take a considerable effort for you to kind of go through the guide. So this is something that we provide to all our learners. This is also available probably on our website, and I will anyway share the presentation deck as well with you. So we create something called mind maps. So these mind maps are a very interesting way to look at Babok at a very high level. So when you look at this particular task mind map, you can see we have numbered the tasks. So that's how we believe most of the projects will behave in that way. You'll find tasks which are parallel. You'll find tasks which are serial. You'll see a sequence of tasks. You'll see some key inputs, key outputs, all that you'll get to see in this particular mind map. So this has been, it might look so simple today to you. We probably, as a faculty team, spent 40 hours in creating this map. So you must be laughing, no? Why would we take so much time? Because all kinds of ideas came to our mind, vertical, horizontal, what we should place in the map, what we should not place in the map. Because we're trying to compress 500 pages of documentation into one single map. Not that easy. Again, understand BSCCM very well, how BSCCM applies to various tasks. That is something expected in the new ECBA exam. Okay, so this is what it is. And I believe there is also another mind map, which I have not put here, called the techniques mind map. So that is also something very interesting. Uh, because especially now for ECBA, you have lesser number of techniques, and the Babok team is very smart. Okay, so let me tell you, they will always say there are 50 techniques in Babok. But if you go inside and start counting the real techniques, it's probably 90, 90. I have counted. Okay, and how do we smartly put them? Say, for example, we have a technique called prioritization in Babok when you look at it. Prioritization is not one technique, it's a group of techniques. Under that, you have something like Moscow, ranking. So there are multiple techniques appearing within prioritization itself. Say we talk estimation. Go inside estimation, you'll find top down, bottom up, parametric, PERT, rolling wave. And these are independent techniques. Bottom up is quite different from top down. Top down is very different from PERT. So they are different techniques, but just that we were smart enough to call them as estimation and told you it is one technique. So it's important for you to also understand what kind of techniques are likely to support which kind of knowledge area. So there are some techniques which you will very clearly recognize, say interview, workshops, brainstorming. These techniques are more likely to support you in your elicitation knowledge area compared to say requirements analysis knowledge area. Whereas if you look at process model, state model, those kind of techniques are more likely to support you in requirement analysis than VA planning. VA planning will talk more about tasks, risks, those kind of things. So we do have a very nice Excel where we have about 60 scenarios, and for each of the scenario, what technique will work best. Again and again, you can study Babok as many times as you like. You can study our study guide, but about 60% of your efforts should go on question bank, because ultimately many of you may not be writing tests after you graduated from school or college. So this is something like something unusual for you. And not preparing enough questions will not give you the confidence to do well in the exam. And appearing for tests is a different ball game than doing actual work. It can be quite different. Some people are good at actual work, not so good at tests. Some people are good at tests, not so good at actual work. I expect you to be good at both. Like be good at actual work and be good at taking tests as well. Sometimes, not at ECBA level, I think we will ask you a lot of uh, tricks, but sometimes you could observe some negative questions. So if you observe a negative question, certain keywords which could deflect the question or kind of make the question look very different from what it is asking. Suppose if I use the word least, but not, or except, if you start seeing those kind of words, maybe you are looking for a negative answer. And obviously, we do provide you with a lot of chapter-based questions and simulations as well. At Adaptive, we provide you with 6 simulations, which we believe is more than enough for you to prepare for the actual exam. IIBA gives you one simulation. Then let's take a look at the application part. The good part about ECBA application process is it's quite simple. It doesn't have much requirements. Only thing you have to pay the fee to IIBA, and if you remember, your exam cost is low. That's why it makes sense for you to become a member. And then typically apply 2 to 3 weeks prior from the time you want to take the test. The good news about ECBA test is these are all online, remote. So you cannot go to a test center, but the advantage of being a remote test is the capacity usually is not a big problem. So you usually get a slot that you like. But this is important again from your exam preparation point of view, because you are going to prepare your own infrastructure for the test. That's why it is important that you have 2 Windows-based computers. You can use Mac, but sometimes we hear that people with Mac do face some trouble. Okay, so it's better to use Windows computers. Keep one as primary, one as a backup. You should have admin access to the computer. Preferably don't use office computer, because usually office computers create trouble from an access point of view. Have 2 good internet connections so that if one fails, you have the other one. It is good to have an external camera, because that way the proctor can verify your identity very well. Because the proctor is sitting somewhere else in the world and trying to monitor you, what you are doing. Have some power backup, because the test will run for about 1.5 hours. So at least 2 hours power backup you have. And please make sure that the place where you are taking the test doesn't have any books or any material. And the room is noise free. There is no content around you, like there's no board with some written material and all, because the proctor is going to kind of check your entire room before you are allowed to take the test. Also, during the test, don't talk, don't murmur, don't look at some device or anything, because that will kind of make the proctor think that you're trying to take help from someone which you are not supposed to take. Closed book exam, so you don't have access to Babok or anything while you write the test. Okay, then obviously we come to the last step to take the test. So obviously, please remember any international test, including ECBA, are based on the guidebooks that is prescribed. So please answer as per the guidebook, not what you do at your workplace. Sometimes your workplace practices may be a little different from what is written in Babok, which is understandable. No? Companies to companies, practices can vary. And sometimes we advise people need to start with question number 1, uh, because some people said that the initial questions are a little harder. Maybe you can start with question number 10 or 20, complete the 20 to 50, and then come back and do 1 to 20. But that's just a feeler from some of our learners, although some learners say the question complexity is more or less same throughout the exam process. But it is important that sometimes some questions can be a little hard. Please keep it in mind. Even for a person like me, although I've been associated with Babak studying for so long. So if you find such a question, please mark that question and move on. Don't get stuck to a question because that will eat out your time, which is not very good for you. Because we have only 75 minutes to complete the entire text. So if we don't maintain pace, we will not be able to answer all questions. In general, what I do if I don't know a question's answer for some reason, I mark it as option C. That's my favorite option. There is no scientific reason for it. Just that I have to mark something. And if my understanding is right, there is no negative marking. So even if you mark wrong or if you don't mark, you still don't get penalized. No. But if you mark a question, there is some possibility that you may get a credit for that particular question. Okay, so couple of links I have given here. There's one bit.ly.ecba-mock-questions, and there's also a blog which my colleague has added saying ECBA old versus new syllabus ebook. Don't worry so much. Rather get prepared for the new syllabus because the old syllabus is gone. There's no point looking back what happened last year. So this is it. This is what I wanted to talk to you today. So I'm very glad that we have been part of so many people's success journey. And I'm hoping that all of you will do well in your upcoming ECBA exam.
All right.
So
And
Susan, would you like to take some questions now from
yeah,
what yeah.
let's do that. We've got a few questions in our Q&A, and I see some questions that are in our chat. And my request would be if you've got a question that's in chat, just move that over to the Q&A box. That way we'll be able to find it easily. Our chat moves fast because you guys like to um, like to share your experiences in chat. Okie doke. So, and then one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to give you guys the ability to upvote. So if you see a question in there and you have the same question, just give it an upvote. Let me take this in order. Okie doke. So our first question is from Ajit. Ajit asks, what is the basic difference in the exam between the ECBA and the CBAP? So that's part one of the question. And part two is, do you recommend taking the ECBA before the CBAP? That's okay. So first part of the question, can you give us the basic difference between ECBA and CBAP?
You want me to answer, Susan?
Yeah,
CBAP is
you've
way
taken
harder
all
than
7 of
ECBA.
these.
Yeah, CBAP is lot harder. Uh, so you get basically simple, medium, complex. Think in these three buckets. Most of the ECBA questions are simple. Most of the CBAP questions are complex. So you do need a lot more preparation and understanding of Babok guide when you are planning to go for CBAP. Other than the fact that you need to have 5+ years of BA experience to be eligible to go for CBAP, whereas ECBA you can take it without any experience. Second question, does it make sense for you to go through ECBA, CCBA, CBAP in that structured route? I would always recommend yes. Many benefits. One, your basic understanding is checked with ECBA. You get familiar with the exam system as well. So that's a plus point. CCBA is like the middle level exam. So if you have done ECBA with another 30-40% effort more, you can be able to complete CCBA. If you have done CCBA, you have done 70% of CBAP. So another 30% you can go to CBAP. So that way it's a very structured way and it will also give you more confidence that I have done ECBA, I've done CCBA, I'm pretty good to do CBAP with some extra preparation, of course.
Yeah. And I'll add to that the way that those 3 certifications are set up, you are not required to take them in order to take the next one. You could start with CBAP, and I've known a number of people who have taken the CBAP certification and then came back and they did the ECBA. So it is, if you want to track your journey and confidence, it's a great way to go through all 3. But the way the certification is structured, you are not required to do them in that order. So thanks,
Right.
Ajit. That's a great question. All right, so let's see. Um, In one of the adaptive resources that you shared, the 50 questions, there was a couple of questions around are those for the new version of the ECBA, or do those questions represent the older version of the ECBA?
We updated them recently, so
Okay.
it's the new version.
Okay, and then you included the links in the slide deck, and as a reminder, you guys will get a copy of that slide deck that includes those links, so you'll be able to download them from that slide deck. So thanks, Mike, for that question. All right, our next question is from Kavi. Does a person need to get a comparable or higher in all 9 knowledge areas to pass the ECBA, or can you still earn the ECBA with lower in some knowledge areas? And I don't know if you want to talk about how things are graded. I know we've got a number of questions about what's the score. There isn't a score for pass fail, and I don't even know that, like, we don't even tell you what the score is. So you get your results in a comparable, higher kind of a format. So I don't know how you if you would like to try to answer Kavi's question. Will you want me to read it again?
Um, because it's a lot. It's not one, two knowledge areas. So I think maybe I will maybe considerate enough not to fail you just for one lawyer. That's what I would believe because I remember I took my CCA certification and I probably had one knowledge area lawyer and I still qualified. So it probably depends on how other people are performing. And it's a new exam scheme as well. No, it's just about 6 months into the practice. So I believe just having one lawyer may not disqualify you. But if you get multiple lawyers, maybe you'll get disqualified.
Yes. Yes. So it's good as you are studying, and maybe if you're taking a practice exam, especially, focusing on those areas where you are not doing well, just to kind of bump up your overall chances of passing. So thanks for that, Kavi. Lukash asked, "Hey, Lukash, good to see you. How long is the ECBA's certificate valid?" And the answer is forever. There's not a recertification on that. So once you've taken that exam, it's yours. You don't have to recertify like you do for the CCBA, the CBAP, the CBDA, and the AAC, which is the Agile extension. So, um, all right. Next question. Let's do a refresh. Is just focusing on the Babcock Guide and the BA standard enough to prepare for the ECBA?
Um, I think the question bank is something that you should leverage other than the guides. No, because questions are a little tricky. So unless you have seen some good practice questions, it might be a little harder because the guides are pretty large. And there is no way you will be able to remember the entire guides. Babok is such a big guide. So doing some good practice questions will definitely help. Without any question practice, I would treat that the preparation wouldn't be adequate.
Yes, you made the point earlier today that the prior version of the ECBA was really knowledge based. So it asked you questions where you just had to have knowledge of a definition or a technique or a whatever. With this new focus, it is more application. And so they are, I forgot the term they use, scenario based or something like that is more like they're looking for you to kind of describe what you're seeing with that scenario. So it is a bit different. And I think anything where you can find some good quality sample questions. Ellen, you have made that point several times. Good quality will help you to prepare. And you're right, when you get the bundle, it includes the practice exams, which
Yes.
definitely use those to your advantage. So, all right. So that question was from Sarah. And let's see. Um, I think we just answered Liesel's question with the new exam format. Are there free test or mock exams that we can access? Yeah, most definitely if you purchase the bundle. LN, what about adaptive?
We do provide 6 simulations,
Okay.
and I think we provide about 600, 700 chapter-based questions as well. So put together, you probably get about 1,200, 1,300 questions. I don't have exact count, but it's definitely above 1,000 questions.
Yes. Um, so but just going out to the internet and finding a free test could be a little risky. To Ellen's earlier point about finding something that is branded and aligned with IIBA, those questions could be the old format, they could be just completely made up. So free is, I think, at your risk, would be my thoughts to you as someone who has also taken a number of certifications, and I plunked down the money for the to work with a test provider. So okie doke. Uh Toke asked the question, how soon will I get scored? And Toke, immediately. There was last year when we first rolled out the exam, we had to get so many, so much data so that we could determine what was the pass or fail. But as of the beginning of October, you now get that, you will know right away before you finish, you wrap up your online session, if you have passed or not. So no delays. Um, Ellen, you talked about the devices that you recommended people use. And so I know one of the questions that we got, I know you had indicated maybe a PC over an Apple, a personal laptop versus a work laptop. What about a desktop? Have you heard of any issues with a
Would be
desktop?
fine. But
Okay.
only thing is that your camera should be in a position to show the entire room, because the
Ah,
proctor would look for the room demo. So if you have an external camera with a cable, that should do, because I can always move my camera around even if I can't move my computer around. That should suffice. I don't see that should be a problem. But I think it's
yeah.
a good question to ask PSI folks. No, because
Yes.
nowadays desktops are so rare that we usually don't worry so much about anybody having a desktop. And mostly as a BA role, you're moving around, no? You're talking to stakeholders, going to meetings. So most often people will have a laptop, but in case you are still using a desktop at home, that still could be a consideration to check.
Yes, yeah. So that's a good call on the external camera because you are going to
Yeah.
need to show them the room. Yes. Okay, let's see. Dimitro asked if someone is not able to pass the test, how do you rewrite it, and is there a fee to rewrite it?
Of course, there is a fee because it requires physical infrastructure. So please think, no, it's an exam system which you have to reuse. The proctor's time has to be factored in. Although the cost of rewriting the test is lower than the first time, but there is a cost. I think it's $95 if I'm right for the
Yes.
rewrite, and
Okay.
you can rewrite. There is no problem.
Yes, that's right. Is there, I should know the answer to this, but I don't. Is there a time frame that you have to wait between the first and the second attempt?
I don't think
I
so.
don't,
I
yeah, I
mean,
don't
you have
think
to get a
so.
new slot. You have to get
Yeah.
a new slot in terms of availability of the proctor's system. No? That might be a little bit of a cumbersome thing, but to my knowledge, I have seen once the proctoring system came into being, the capacity has been much better
Okay.
compared to physical centers when we had only physical centers. That time the capacity was a consideration or issue. Now I don't see that problem for most of the certifications.
Okay. Yeah. Good to know. And you do still need to stay within that application time frame for the
Yeah.
certification. Yeah, so
Yes.
that is the constraint that you have. So if you were like me when you took the CBAP and you waited till the very last minute of your time
Yeah.
frame to take the exam, if I had not passed, I would have been out of luck.
Yeah.
It would be an all new.
And
So don't do
yeah,
that. Don't recommend.
and
That's way too much
yeah,
pressure.
And just to tell you from my experience, you probably need anywhere between 2 to 3 months to complete the whole process. You don't need more than 3 months, but trying to do it less than 1 month can be a little bit tough because you're studying a lot of things. So an ideal time frame is somewhere between 6 weeks to 12 weeks. That's the ideal time frame to complete your test.
Thank you. Hasna asked a question about the difference between the IREB, so the International Requirements Engineering Board certifications, and the IIBA certifications. This is an interesting question, and actually, we keep in touch with IREB. So the International Requirements Engineering Board it is a very deep dive into requirements engineering. For us, for IIBA and for the Babcock Guide, we don't get really deep into that specific area. They are very complementary kinds of certifications to have, particularly if you work in industries that heavily use requirements engineering. They also do a lot of business analysis. Now, you cannot use the IREB materials to study for IIBA, but they are very complementary kinds of certifications. I don't know. Do you have any IREB certifications, Ellen?
I do have.
You do? Which one
I
do you? Of course you do. Which ones do you have?
It is CPRE FL, the foundation
Okay.
level. I did not go for the advanced level, but I did CPRE FL quite some time back, and I liked it as well. I think the distinction is I find Babok has strategy analysis, solution evaluation, which is missing in IREB content. So
Mhm.
these two knowledge areas are extra or kind of more added value in Babok. Whereas if I look at elicitation, I find the IREB material to be a little better in terms of the way
Yes.
they deal with elicitation as a subject.
Yeah. Okay.
So I studied both and I like both. And even when I am teaching Babok, sometimes I do pick up some content from IREB to share with people that this is still valuable content, although it may not come in the exam.
Yes. Yeah. And like I said, we regularly talk to our colleagues over at IREB because there are so many similarities between our communities. And I have always been interested in IREB and their certification. So the CPRE is kind of their foundational certification, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
foundation level. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So our next question, maybe this is our last question. We just have about 2 minutes, but this has been on my mind as well. So for the new exam, which is based on more application, how is a person without business analysis experience able to answer this question? So, how are you preparing your students who may be brand new without work experience? How are you helping them to prepare to answer these questions?
So as I said, we have one very nice Excel workbook where we have listed many common BA scenarios,
Hmm.
mostly built from my experience as a BA. And in that situation, what technique I preferred to use. And I also kind of share that exercise with my learners so that they also get tuned. And we try to give them also some access to a practical project, like a book which has been written from a real beginner point of view. And it takes you through a whole journey of one real product which we developed for our client. So that gives you a fair idea about how things are done. I'm not saying you become an expert, but you definitely become process aware because of that book.
Yeah. So I think that again, you know, uh, uh, going with a training partner is not required to prepare for ECBA, but one of the differences that you get when you are working with a training provider is you can get this kind of insight, this kind of assistance, where if you were doing it on your own, it might be difficult if you don't have the work experience. So, as you are making the decision and getting yourself prepared, that should factor into what are the ways that I want to prepare myself, especially if I don't have that experience. So thank you for that. All right. Well, we are at the end of our time. Ellen, thank you, because you always give
This
such
was in
good information. I just want to remind everybody we are recording today's session, so we are going to send the links to the recording and the slide deck, which includes the links to the materials that Ellen has talked about. That'll go out 24 hours after today's session, and then we'll follow up next week with even more resources that can help you to get prepared for the ECBA. So we wish all of you the very best of luck when you are getting ready. Ellen, thanks again.
Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.
Yeah, take care. See you guys.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.